alive and on the stage involves throwing them as high up as you can and juggling them, because once they hit the ground, they're going to be gone very soon.
Yeah.
And we saw that happen to Pavelski as Blue was able to take it 2-0. Moving to the next match, we have more action-packed Brawlhalla, Flamethrower on Ember versus Zero's Mordex.
Flamethrower and Zero here. Zero was the one who actually sent Blue down into the loser's bracket 2-1. So Zero and Blue are both in the loser's bracket. And if Zero wins this, his next set will actually be against Blue again. So that'll be Blue's chance for the run back. But he's going to have to go through Flamethrower first. Flamethrower going into the loser's bracket via Viper, who sent him in. That was a 2-0 at the beginning of top 8.
Yeah, having an opportunity for that rematch to get into top 3. If Zero is able to take it over Flamethrower, but Flamethrower is definitely in the way. We don't see too much Ember representation, but it's like every tournament, every major tournament that we view, there's a theme with like a weapon that seems to be very popular. It feels like guitars are really taking off again. I mean, like guitars have always been good.
They
but
definitely fade in and out.
There's been like a gauntlets are better, guitars are better argument that's been going on right now. And now we've got that gauntlets versus guitars matchup with Mordex and Ember, only they're using the other weapons in their arsenal, Scythe versus Bow. And haven't really got too much started. Flamethrower with a nice little lead. See those little retreating down airs, finding damage here and there, and Zero finally switching over to the gauntlets.
Now, something that I think is actually really good for Flamethrower right now is we're more than a minute in this game. No one's died yet. Zero just got knocked into kill percent with that neutral signature, but Flamethrower has low defense on this Ember pick, but he's taken next to no damage, so that might just not be a problem. Zero seems to struggle finding any footing when he has Scythe, when he has Gauntlets, which are typically huge damage output weapons, output damage in intense strings very quickly, very tough weapons to get away from, but that's just not even a problem for Flamethrower. He's controlling this 100%.
Really patient on that string, even with the high percent. Was able to get the recovery in the right position, noticing that Zero wasn't going to be able to dodge away. And Flamethrower is solidly in the lead, and it's been methodical. Zero looking for these falling down airs, something with the gauntlets. Maybe a downlight starter. There's that Sair, chase dodges forward, can't find the nair afterwards. Goes for the double sidelight. We're seeing a lot of classic gauntlet setups that aren't leading to too much damage in Flamethrower with the walk-up neutral sig. Takes up the guitar shortly afterwards, and Zero still struggling to put and Ember, not the highest defense legend in the game, not too squishy
in
either.
Fact, one of the lowest.
One of the lowest, yeah. And I don't even feel like a signature from center stage is going to be able to take out Flamethrower yet. Zero has to find a little bit more damage. And
he's trying to find him near the edge of the stage. Of course, that down signature, he would pull in front of him and throw behind him closer to that blast zone, but he's just not able to find these big initiations. He's struggling to find the kills here, just a little bit too high on that recovery.
Down air could do it.
Dodging through the weapon toss. Flamethrower is going to almost get back safely to the stage, but he's going to eat a recovery, go off of the top, and Zero sort of has evened this up so far. It's probably, again, about 35 to 40 damage on his second stock.
And to reiterate, Ember is not very tanky. So the amount of damage they have to catch, oh man, the side stick to be able to take him off the top side, right side of the map so early relatively for Mordex, because it was a falling side. So like any signature that you travel with, like walk with, if you do it off of a platform off the side of the stage, you'll kind of descend a little bit. And that's exactly what happened there, to be able to catch Zero as he was trying to recover back. And now an entire stock ahead. Zero could make the difference faster than, say, Flamethrower could on Mordex, but already he's not finding any hits. There's that sidelight, but he goes for that pivot downer read, and Flamethrower ready for that. He saw those gravity cancel signatures before, and was able just to punish with the downlight right afterwards.
Now, the fact that Flamethrower is controlling this game so well, the fact that he is this much of a lead right now is a little bit interesting. Mordex, very meta
recovery.
Pick.
But yeah.
Gauntlets, typically one of the highest sought-after weapons right now. Thought of very highly. Scythe also thought of very highly.
Flamethrower.
Beautiful. And that's going to be a two-stock. It was looking like Zero had signs of life in him.
That was probably one of the most remarkable usages of the Ember side sig on Bow, because you call in your animal companion, in a sense. And he was using it to hit the very tip of the move on a landing, almost to catch them off guard. And then once that connected, because we saw that earlier on in that first game, and then he was able to get onto the top platform, found that dash forward down air to really launch forward and snipe him out of the air, using the bow for what it's meant for. Flamethrower definitely playing with his food in the sense of like a hunter, right? And we're seeing Zero switch almost immediately, because the Scythe wasn't working out. Usually Scythe has those really long strings that take you all across the map, right? And you can find those reads, and you have the active input to be able to dictate where your opponent is going. But Zero, sticking to the gauntlets, but switching over to Val, which is the sword legend, is going to see if this makes a difference here in this next game. Because Flamethrower looked in control the entire time.
100%. His bow was outplaying Zero. His Katars were outplaying Zero. His light attacks, his signatures, his initiations. Flamethrower was just doing everything right against Zero. Zero had no answers. In fact, he had 0 answers against Flamethrower that entire last game.
Let's see if Val is going to be that new answer that he needs to be able to take it to game 3. Weapon toss goes down, and Flamethrower didn't dodge it. A few direct down weapon tosses have been coming out of Zero that Flamethrower has been intelligently like sidestepping and then using bow recovery for. There's that side stick that we saw in the previous game used so well, but now Zero positioning around it, dodging appropriately, and being able to punish.
Now we're seeing a somewhat more even game between these two, but we're also seeing Flamethrower kind of push his momentum a little bit further because we're a minute into this game and they have more damage on them than they did a minute into last game. So it's Flamethrower kind of knowing that he kind of has the guiding hand for how this game is going to go based on what happened last game.
Downlight, neutral light connects, doesn't KO. Val tanky enough. I think it goes 4, 5, 6, 7 on the stats.
I think that's right.
But I don't remember what stance she's using. Either way, tanky legend, but Flamethrower is finally able to close it out. And this is mirroring the previous game, regardless of the legend swap. It opened up with about a minute of exchange, Flamethrower in the lead, and if Zero can't find... Oh, man, the neutral light. Because, like, that was a really good read, because sometimes players will, like, in order to avoid an immediate string, will spot dodge, like, just buffer it. And Flamethrower ready for that, put himself in a position to be able to hit him right outside of the spot dodge. And Zero so close to kill percent already. There's that side stick, but Zero doesn't recover into it. But Flamethrower is looking to take a 2-stock lead in game number 2. Neutral light tries to come out. Zero looking for those edge, fishing on the edge again. Side stick connects, doesn't KO. Flamethrower still living. And goes for that down air from the bow. It doesn't find it, but Zero not willing to risk an offstage exchange. If he loses that stock, Daylight Recovery will finally take it. So close to kill percent. I wouldn't be surprised if Flamethrower just went for a side stick finish on the bow, was able to find it. But if he picks up the guitar,
or an unarmed side heavy.
Unarmed side heavy, yeah.
And we're seeing sort of similar pace to last game. Definitely possible 2-stock potential again for Flamethrower, just like it was last game. He's a full stock up at this point, going back to the bow. His bow initiations onto Zero have just been really good so far. Zero seems to have no answer for them. There's the D-Light recovery. No juggle opportunities coming out for Zero. There's a nice falling side air coming out from Flamethrower. We're expecting high recoveries, so he's going to side air really high in the air. Has Zero on the edge. Just backing up, maintaining stage control. That's super important for Flamethrower at this point.
Zero tosses the weapon up. Picks up the gauntlet. No, just gets rid of it. He doesn't want Flamethrower to have the guitars. Interesting. Because he definitely like threw the sword up, tossed the gauntlets away, and picked up the old sword. So he's keeping... That's like the two aspects of weapon starving. It's keeping your opponent on a weapon that they currently have, or just keeping them from picking up a weapon. And Zero's doing the first.
But it's interesting because...
And he's continuing. Yeah, look at that.
Zero's playing a Gauntlet Legend like he did last game, but we haven't seen hardly anything from Val's Gauntlets. We saw the side sig, but beyond that, we saw next to nothing so far. So he's really married to this idea of Gauntlets, but his sword seems to be the better weapon for him.
And he's definitely stabilizing. And also the third aspect that I didn't even think about, right? Which is just making sure that when Zero loses his sword, the next weapon he picks up is a sword. And that's exactly what happened there during that weapon toss exchange. But now the gauntlets are picked up. Looks for that falling Sarah, puts Flamethrower into kill percent and side sig. No, goes all the way to the side. We see that Zero retreats to the edge of the map.
He's so cautious.
And you know he's fishing for, like, we saw those, oh, nice, gravity cancel silent recovery. Zero barely took any damage on that stock. He, like, went to orange and then just played it super intelligently. Played around the weapons that were spawning on the map, playing around the platform, and now, good gravity cancel downlight into Nair combo.
And once you saw him, like, backing up a lot, now that he's playing more defensively, he's getting some better initiations against Flamethrower, because it's basically kind of what Flamethrower is doing to him.
Right.
That's also very successful. So the fact that he's playing a little bit more defensively now compared to what he was doing before is working out for him. He just got procced into kill percent with that recovery. Flamethrower was trying to pick up another one off the top. There's a weapon.
Oh, the side stick hits in a bow. Afterwards, Flamethrower is able to take it out. That's so incredible, though, because the adjustments that Zero was making, we didn't see in game number 1, where I was talking about where Flamethrower was finding all of those edge side sigs.